In the first days of the recent lockdown in Italy, the world looked on, fascinated by images of Italians appearing at windows and balconies, especially to sing or make music. As an ever greater part of the world joined us in sheltering in place, we all became aware, as perhaps never before, of the importance of windows and the access they provide to the outside world when we are confined to our homes. The fascination quickly shifted, however, from looking towards our windows to curiosity about what the people inside those windows were seeing as they looked out. A Facebook group, created in March of this year, dedicated to The View from My Window, already has over 2.3 million members. Another kind of window is provided by paintings, an idea that we now take for granted, but which is an invention of the Renaissance. In one of the earliest manifestos to theorize the new art, Leon Battista Alberti first proposed the notion that paintings should be thought of as windows. Alberti's treatise is perhaps more famous today for its exposition of the method for constructing the illusion of three-dimensional space on the two-dimensional surface through the use of one-point perspective, and for claiming a special place for narrative subjects, leading later to the canonization of history painting as the highest form of the painter's art. But it is the concept of the painting as window that has perhaps had the longest life, surviving into our own time, even while concerns about genres and geometrically rendered space have long ago faded away. In his beautiful Madonna and Child with Angels in the Uffizi, Filippo Lippi not only employs the painted surface to depict a window onto an alternative reality, but illusionistically renders an actual window frame behind his protagonists with a fictive view onto a landscape setting. Lippi was particularly sensitive to this concept and frequently represented framed views in his paintings. In the splendid double portrait in the Metropolitan Museum, windows serve multiple functions. A young man stands outside of one and looks into the room where the young lady stands in elegant composure. They are almost certainly a bride and groom, and the painting may have served not only to document their appearance at the time of their betrothal, but also as a kind of visual inventory of their contract. Marriage in 15th century Florence was very much a financial transaction. A bride of this standing would have been expected to bring with her a significant dowry, while the groom would have been expected to offer a counter-dowry, or the groom's gift. This gift usually took the form of 3 jewels, to be worn on the head, on the chest, and at the neck, although never simultaneously, as Lippi's lady does here, in flagrant violation of Florentine sumptuary laws. The dowry, on the other hand, was sometimes provided partly or entirely in landholdings, and the farms and gardens seen through the window between the young couple may be a view onto actual properties that this young lady brought with her upon her marriage. The inclusion of views in portraits closely associated with marriage, or in small-scale Madonnas such as Lippi's, reminds us of how constrained the life of patrician and noble women was during the Renaissance, largely confined, as we have been over these past months, to their homes. This may partly explain the appeal of painted views in works that may well have adorned the rooms used most frequently by women in Renaissance palaces, to offer greater access to an outside world from which they were largely excluded. This was almost certainly the function of the charming views of games and festivities taking place in Florentine squares and streets, included in the decorative frieze of one of the painted wooden ceilings in the apartment of Eleonora di Toledo in the Palazzo Vecchio. The Duchess's ladies-in-waiting were only allowed to leave the palace on specific feast days. The views in the frieze represent the city as they would have seen it under those particular festive circumstances, during processions, jousts, or the local form of soccer that was a Florentine invention. Stradano, born Jan van der Straet, who painted the ceiling in Eleonora's apartment, was not Florentine, but was Flemish, and thus belonged to a long and prestigious tradition of painters from the Low Countries, fascinated by windows and views. Jan van Eyck, for example, makes brilliant use of a window in the bridal chamber depicted in the so-called Arnolfini marriage. Or in the stupendous Madonna of Chancellor Rollin in the Louvre, in which an Italianate loggia provides a utopian view towards a river, bridges, a city, and outlying farms. Perhaps no early modern artist was as sensitive to the idea of the painting as window and the representation of windows in paintings as Vermeer. Vermeer's paintings are, among other things, meditations on the nature of light and its relationship to vision. The specific analogy between paintings as windows and actual glazed windows is frequently made in his works, as we see here in The Young Woman Standing at a Virginal in the National Gallery in London, in which even the lid of the elegant lady's keyboard instrument offers a virtual view onto a rich landscape. One 20th century artist who was particularly sensitive to the idea of the picture as window was the surrealist painter René Magritte. Magritte's The Lovers has been frequently invoked in the past months as an icon for this moment of masks and both physical and emotional isolation. However, a more apt symbol of our time and its special relationship to windows might be his Promenades of Euclid in the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, which lays a fictive canvas directly across our view of an urban setting, a palimpsest of the way in which many of us have experienced cities over the past months, as seen through windows, both real and virtual.